episode of Wuthering Gladiators, the show where we discuss and debate literature in all of its forms. If it's written work, it's game. Let's meet the panel.
Hi, I'm Larry.
I'm Kaila.
And I'm Josh. And today we're going to be going over one of Kayla's recommendations in Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte, which Bronte sisters are always a group of writers that I have wanted to get into. They're a bit challenging to grasp, but they definitely hold their merit in British literature. And Kaila, you have a discussion starter?
Yes. So, this novel was insanely difficult to get into. I think we can all probably agree on that, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So which characters, if any, did you sympathize with?
First of all, with regard to how difficult it felt like the beginning of the novel was walking into a dinner, in the middle of a dinner, and nobody comes up and says hi to you. You're just expected to make your way through.
Like before we even hit the flashbacks, you mean?
Before we hit the flashbacks.
Yeah, when he just shows up at that house. And
And then it's just like, I'm just going to go back the next day and see how it goes.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
But I would say Heathcliff is probably the one that you're most likely to hold sympathy for based off of his situation.
Really?
Initially. Maybe not as the story progresses, but...
I don't really...
I don't think I've ever sympathized with anybody less than I've sympathized with Heathcliff. When we're allowed to do spoilers, right?
Yeah.
When he died, I cheered. I have never been so excited about the death of a literary character before.
I think the female characters are the more sympathetic ones. I'm having trouble remembering names, but...
They're all Catherine.
No. Yeah, oh, that's right. Yeah. Catherine the Younger.
Catherine the Younger.
Yeah, Catherine the Younger. She was great. I thought, she's a good person.
Yeah, she was the
a little
most
naive and all, but probably the most likable. And
I definitely feel bad for her.
Yeah, she's sympathetic.
Yeah.
Also, the maid.
Yeah, Mrs. Dean.
Yeah, Mrs. Dean.
She was a narrator?
Well, kind of.
Yeah.
She was the narrator.
She was mostly
inside the narrator.
It was
weird the way that they did
It's like Russian cups or whatever those things are, right?
Yeah, like
one inside the other.
The little dolls.
Yeah, the
nesting
dolls. Yeah, that's what it is. Where you have a narrator inside the narrator. Because he's the guy that's telling the story.
Kind of like Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Where it's different characters narrate, and it's that kind of Russian cups.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, see, I'm not crazy about that.
The Russian doll.
Yeah, I'm not crazy about that approach. It just seems like it's unbelievable that somebody would be able to recapture dialogue as spoken to them second hand and then third hand, and then where the dialogue is supposed to be taken verbatim, and every little detail is supposed to be remembered. Like maybe if it happened to you, I can remember that, but somebody telling you that in that detail, you're going to remember that. Like, are you actually writing it down?
Writing it down, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was like a very interesting approach, and I found myself wondering a lot why bother with that type of an approach when like Mrs. Dean could just tell the story. But I think a lot of that probably had to do with like the fact that Emily Bronte was a woman writing a novel, which already wouldn't have been very acceptable at the time, on top of having a female narrator. So she probably... Yeah, I thought she did.
Alice Bell?
Yeah. So I think that a female narrator would have been a lot less reliant in that period.
Or accepted.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yet she did it too, didn't she? Through that contrivance, right? Because
pretty much.
It's a male narrator, but he doesn't really tell the story.
Not really.
It's what's her Mrs. Dean that actually tells the story. So yeah, that's a good point. That probably has something to do with how that happened.
So you pick it up and you're like, oh, this is a male is narrating the story. That's reliable, and they're going to tell the story correctly, and then you get halfway through and you're already kind of like sucked into the story by the time it switches over to Mrs. Dean.
Right.
So
Yeah, and then I think another thing
Clever
too
strategy.
might be that the way that it's kind of non-linear, right? So it gives a way for that to happen. Where like nowadays, that kind of where a story isn't necessarily told in a linear fashion. We kind of just take that for granted. But back then, maybe it was, a way to do that without actually, breaking the stream, right? Because it starts. Well, I arrived at the house here, and this is what the situation was like, and then I wanted to know how it came to be like that.
Right.
So and then you have a couple of different breaks in that. So I thought that was well handled, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Anything else anyone wanted to bring up?
Well, I mean, I don't know. What do you think?
It was really, really rough. And like I said, none of the characters were likable. I didn't think any of them were particularly likable.
They were very dense.
Yeah.
And even, I would say that they were very... the fact that Heathcliff is the one character that sticks out because of his situation it really says something.
Yeah, it's
Mm-hmm.
Well, he just becomes more and more brutal.
Yeah, and that's another thing. I know it's like a classic romance, and that so many people refer to this as like it's held almost in the same stature as like Romeo and Juliet or something. But like, I just don't understand why. I guess because Catherine the First was so horrible. Heathcliff is just unimaginably horrible.
It's just a matter of how people acted at the particular time.
Yeah.
Because this is 1840s that this is taking place. Emily Bronte, this was her only novel. She was working on a second novel, but she had gotten sick and probably destroyed it before she died.
Mm-hmm.
And but this does possess a great amount of acclaim, even if it takes, even though it really takes multiple attempts, a great deal of time, and a lot of patience, and the ability to get into it, because there are works that are for target audiences, and I think that this is one of them.
Yeah.
There are some people that are definitely not going to get into it.
I think the general population wouldn't be able to get through this.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't read much from this period in time at all.
I don't think I will after reading this.
I mean, the closest thing that I could point to would be like Mark Twain and stuff, but that was a few years later.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, they talk about how Hemingway kind of changed the form, and I think this might be an example of how that's true, because of just how flowery and like descriptive.
That was a lot of it back then, and there's also the idea that people got paid by the word.
Yeah, I could tell that.
Yeah.
And then I think also the way that like all of the characters kind of talk the same, like they all like that kind of gets thin. Like there's nothing that really separates them as far as the way that they speak.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. It was fine. I'm not sure exactly what it was trying to say. I mean, other than people can be brutal.
Uh-huh.
And I guess it just goes back to that old paradigm, right, where you can resent your lot, or you can work to improve it. I think that's Heathcliff kind of takes on that role, and then of resenting where he is,
Mm-hmm.
and then his not his son, but his former who's the guy that ends up marrying younger, Hareton.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, where Hareton kind of actually wants to be a better person, and despite the fact that he's persecuted pretty strongly and everything, he eventually is able to get educated and all that through will and that kind of thing. So.
Already, how would you guys rate it on 0 to 5 scale? Half stars allowed? Yada yada yada.
I'll go 2. I'll give it a 2. It was just I don't know. It's not my my cup of tea, I guess.
Yeah, I guess I'd give it a 2 too. I mean, I did finish it, so.
I'm going to do something that I've never done, and I'm not going to give it a rating. I'm going to hold off on it because I don't feel that I grasped the work enough to give it a fair rating. And I feel that that's what I've done that. I'm thinking about going over it again, and I will, however I receive it, give it a legitimate rating. A rating that I feel it deserves, but at this time, I don't feel that it's something that would be fair for the people that actually enjoyed this, the people that hated it, or just people that are looking to approach the book as it is. So. Already. Oh, here's my copy of Wuthering Heights. If you were interested in checking it out, here's the Bantam Classics version.
I have the Barnes & Noble Classics edition.
It's a pretty smart move because it's affordable.
Yeah, it's like $5. I also found it for free on Audible, and that's actually how I got through this, which was a little bit easier than reading it.
Yeah, I know somebody that said that as well, that she listened to the audio version and it really got her into it to the point that she read it 3 or 4 more times.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I'll
be lucky to read it once
again.
I actually, I listened to it. I got the Audible. It was fine.
Already.
I wouldn't say it's the way to go.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the narrator is okay. Or the reader, I don't know. She tends to take things in a whiny direction with a lot of dialogue. Granted, a lot of dialogue is whiny.
Like
Probably,
with the Catherines, the narrator I listened to did a lot.
Was it like an episode of Prairie Home Companion?
No, it's just one person reading.
Oh, okay.
Oh, but I think I know what you mean.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, with that tone that one lady uses in the Prairie Home Companion constantly when they're doing like married couple. Is that what you're talking about?
Probably. Already then.
Is it like a Prairie Home Companion? How?
Just the tone, I would say, where it's not engaging, but it's meant to be enjoyable.
No, it's just kind of grating.
Okay. Alrighty then, be sure to join us next time for another episode of Wuthering Gladiators, and for now, keep reading.